Good evening. My name's Ian Lyons. I'm the chairman of Cell-Wellbeing. Thank you very much for joining us this evening on a very special webinar where I'm going to introduce Dr. Radha, who has specialized in biochemistry and is actually a medical doctor and has read thousands and thousands of our reports. And he, in fact, with his team, along with our own worldwide medical team, developed the gut page that you find in our immune and well-being reports. As the gut is 80% responsible for many things that are going on in our bodies, we thought it very important that Dr. Radha make this presentation to you. I hope you find it informative. Thank you very much for your time. Stay safe.
Hi, good afternoon. It's 2 p.m. in Malaysia. I think it is 7 p.m. in New Zealand. Australia is around 5 p.m. Okay, I'm a medical doctor. I'm an epigenetic trainer. So you have a report like this. In this report, there is a page called the gut support indicators. So the first half of the topic will be on gut support indicators. This page has been developed by me, and I have developed nutraceutical supplements based on this report, based on thousands of reports that we have done over the past 5 years. This is the 6th year I'm with Cell-Wellbeing. Let me explain to you what is about gut and a broad form, and then I break it down into smaller components. Okay. If you can see, put up your thumb. Fantastic. Okay, the gut is like a tube. If we cut the tube down, we'll have a cross section that appears this way. If you cut this down, take this section. This section. It'll appear this way. A single lining with a single lining of cells. These cells is this part which regenerates every 3 to 5 days. The turnover period is every 3 to 5 days. Microscopic. What can cause a damage here? Physiological damage. One will be toxic metals. 2, chemicals. 3, bacteria. 4, parasites. 5, gluten, and many more. So over the past 5 years, what I have discovered is there are more than 20 factors affecting the gut. So if you go back here, there are more than 20 factors affecting the gut. So now if I say there are 20, I need to classify according to the the severity of what affects most and what affects less. Okay, so if you look at the whole chart, you might get confused. So what I found is I need you to understand two things. Two-dimensional and three-dimensional. Blood test is a two-dimensional thing. That means, let's say I have a thyroid problem. I do a blood test, it gives you exactly what the thyroid says. But in an S-drive, it's three-dimensional. What I mean by three-dimensional is, let's say I have a severe headache, and that day I don't feel like eating food, or I don't feel like watching TV. I don't feel like, I feel like I should isolate with myself. So the headache talks to a lot of other things, you get connected. So this is three-dimensional. So the S drive is more of a three-dimensional. We are not doing a diagnostic test. That is blood test. This says that if you have bacteria and it will affect this, it will affect that. So I want to help you understand that component where the most of the 20 indicators, what I have done is to give point value for each one of the indicators. Okay. For example, the most, so you follow me 5. Can you put up your fingers? 5 fingers? Okay, good. The biggest number means the most, the indicator that disturbs the entire body, the worst of the worst, the number 1 is toxic metals. So for this, I have given a value of 10. 10 points. Computer doesn't understand English language. It understands algorithm. So points values have been given here. So 10. So among the toxic metals, which I'll come back to the second half, what toxic metals is all about. Okay. So number 2 that affects the body is chemicals. So number 1, when you see a report, number 1 is toxic metals. Number 2 is chemicals. Okay. Number 3, bacteria. Number 3 is bacteria. So what is number 4? Number 4 is glutamine. Glutamine deficiency. I'll go through each one of them slowly. Okay. Number 5 is gluten. Again, gluten is based on the type of diet we are eating. Western diet has more gluten, not Asian diet. Okay, so we have to very, very carefully. These are the top 5 indicators that actually constitute most amount of points. So you don't look at the points, you look at these 5 main indicators. The rest will be 8 points, 7 points, 6 points, 5 points. It goes on by the priority. It has to coordinate with toxic metal may be coordinated with brain health. Okay, it has to coordinate. It's a 3-dimensional. Or glutamine may be related, bacteria may be related to omega-3 because it addresses inflammation. So I'll go through a little bit one by one at how I derive this 3-dimensional and we develop this gut page. Because theory is one thing, being practical is a different story. I face hundreds of patients and I train doctors worldwide, especially in Malaysia and India, and I'm facing the real deal. I'm facing my colleagues. So I need to qualify each one of them. Okay, so I make it very simple. So in a report, since most of you are not doctors, in a report, when you turn to gut page, if you see toxic metals, okay, toxic metals, when you see, it is a major concern. What is toxic metals? This is Great Wall of China. No matter what supplements we give, you can't go through the Great Wall of China. Bottom line. Until and unless you correct toxic metals. No amount of correction is not going to save that person. And what I have noticed past 5 years, we have overcome diabetes, hypertension, chronic diseases like arthritis, psoriasis, all are related to toxic metals. As long as we are on this earth and we are dealing with toxic metals, there's always a problem. Okay? When you get these toxic metals anywhere, first question you need to ask is, do you have amalgams? Most of them have old amalgams. That could be one of the reasons why the toxic metals are seen on a test. Okay. In a regular medical field, most of the doctors never do toxic metal studies. Okay. Are you following with me? Are you communicating? If you are yes, if you are there, yes, go. Okay. If two means you're not following, you're not able to understand, I'll repeat. Okay. Number one, as long as you have toxic metals, no matter what treatment you give, whether it's a medical line of treatment or nutritional line of treatment, temporarily you feel better, but it will come back. Are you okay? This is a huge topic, which I will come back to the second half. Okay. So we are gone over the first toxic metals. What is the second most important indicator in this is chemicals. So in chemicals, if you go down the report, if you go down into the report, it will be given like this. So it will show chemicals and hydrocarbons. Okay. So if you want to know more about this, what we need to understand is go to page number 28. Page number 28. If you look down here, sorry, the red mark here, it will be written toxic metals. When you click it download, you get a graph to tell where you are exposed to toxic metals or chemicals. Are you all able to follow me?
Yep.
One thumb up. Good. Again,
Yep.
when you see chemicals, or toxic metals, please go to page number 28 and go to this section here and click on this link. You'll have a PDF download and tells you what toxic metals you may be exposed to or what chemicals you could be exposed to. So again, the second indicator that is that disturbs the gut is chemicals. The number one is toxic metals. Number two is chemicals. Again, as long as we are living on this earth, we are always exposed to chemicals. Are you okay? Okay, so that's the third indicator.
Can I just ask everybody to please put their microphones onto mute, because that will interfere otherwise with Dr. Radha's talking. So please put your mics on mute until such time as he asks questions to be answered. Thank you.
Okay. The third, so we have finished again, toxic metals, chemicals. Number three is bacteria. So if we were to go to the bacterial page, in the resistance page, you'll see bacteria highlighted. If you have a highlighted bacteria, that means when we are giving someone a proper nutrition or vitamins, you're actually feeding the bad bacteria. Bad bacteria in medical terms is called in functional medicine. There are two types of medicines you need to understand. One is the allopathy medicine or the allopathy medicine, which is the regular medicine. The other one is called functional medicine or integrated functional medicine. We, as a doctor, I don't believe all this in this field. But if you go to functional medicine, this is the first thing we need to correct. Because bacteria is a second brain. Microbiome is a second brain. Microbiome is the second brain. What most of us don't understand is how to overcome a proper nutrition to feed good bacteria. Okay, so the second indicator in the third indicator in this gut page is microbiome or bad bacteria. In functional medicine, it is called bacteria. It's also known as SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. It means that you have so much of bad bacteria that is actually affecting your health. So we need to correct that. To correct that, you can go to page number 29. If you find an indicator of bad bacteria coming up, go to page number 29. And 30. 29 and 30. There they will advise you if you have bad bacteria, what food to eat. If you have toxic metals, what food to eat. Or you have chemicals, what food to eat. A guideline is already done in the page and it's no brainer. We don't have to go and refer to internet or ask some doctor. It's already written there. The first line of management is try nutritionally first. If it's not still coming okay, then you go into medical management. Since most of you are not doctors, what I would do is I will start them on antibiotics for 5 days. Kill all the bad bacteria and put back good bacteria. The good bacteria in the form of prebiotics and probiotics. Prebiotic is a nutrition for the bacteria. Probiotic is the actual bacteria. Okay. So numerous studies have been done worldwide. The future of human health is based on bacteria. Okay, if we take a person who's obese and we take a fecal implant of a thin person into the fat person, the person will become thin. So the world has gone into that direction. So as long as the person is eating wrong food, they're feeding the wrong bacteria. So this is the third indicator that we are dealing with. What is the fourth main indicator? The fourth main indicator is called glutamine. How many here understand what glutamine is? Can you put me a thumbs up? I'll add on to what you understand. I add on to what you understand, okay? It's a $1 billion market. It's a billion. It constitutes of 3 molecules: cysteine, glutamine, and glycine. So it's a huge molecule. But what happens is, if we say there's a glutamine deficiency, okay, let me give you an analogy to what I'm trying to say. If you find glutamine deficiency, if we having clothes, our clothes at home, and they're dirty, so we put it in the washing machine. To wash on. So it is the detox machine. The biggest detox in our body, human body, is the liver. In the liver, if you have glutamine deficiency, it means that the body is trying to clear out something in the body. It's like you're hungry. It doesn't matter what you're hungry about, you're hungry. So when you have glutamine deficiency, it tells you that the body is trying to get rid of either toxic metals, inflammation, chemicals, and it ran short. That's the whole understanding. We don't have to dissect and dissect and try to decode, okay? It's already given. So when you see a glutamine deficiency, that means it's trying to get rid of something in the body and it ran short of glutamine. That's it. Don't go further than that. Okay, that will be the 4th indicator. That means there is a massive amount of toxic metals or chemicals and the body is depleted of glutamine. Glutamine is produced in the muscles and the liver is the biggest, the mother of all detox is glutamine. And the biggest detox engine in the body is the liver. Okay. Next. The 5th indicator is glutamine. Sorry, gluten. Gluten again constitutes of main 3 things. Is wheat, barley, and rye. Okay, this is the main, but in this report, I have given these 10 points. For this, I've given 9 points. For this, I've given 8 points. So if you see a glutamine showing up here, especially wheat, is one of the top 5 problems of human. Okay. Okay, so let me demonstrate here for you. Okay. Gluten sometimes is associated with GMO. Any of you all understand what is GMO is? Thumbs up, please. Yes, good. So I'm actually going to demonstrate here. This is 3-dimensional, okay, not 2-dimensional. Do I look serious? I'm focused. Okay. You're seeing chemicals. Am I right? Can you see me? Thumbs up? Okay, I'm not changing anything. There's no trick here. I'm going down to the food avoidance page. This is 3-dimensional. Okay, now we can see here. Okay, sorry. Can you see corn? Can you see corn? Yes. So it's a GMO. These chemicals is probably from corn. So now I understand this person is having a GMO food. And that is another problem of a person becoming intolerant to certain food. So you need to advise them not to overcome chemicals, to avoid GMO. So ask them to advise them to go on probably organic food. Okay. So number 5 is gluten. So let's go back. Let's go back. Number 1 is toxic metals. Number 2, chemicals. Number 3, what's number 3? Bacteria. Number 4, glutamine. Number 5 is gluten. These are the top 5 causes of human ill health. Some form of discomfort, some form of chronic diseases. Okay, and this is the reason this page is made very intelligently. So if you have a gluten deficiency, this gut page, so if you look very carefully again, let me go back. Can you see the microbiological imbalance? Okay. You can see corn. And you can see hydrocarbon. When I see hydrocarbon, it is linked to corn. Can you see that clearly? Thumbs up if you can see. Okay, good. So now I have basically gone through a basic understanding of the top 5. The rest of them are may not be the main, but indirectly influence. The gut has got 2 ways of doing things, affecting the body. It affects the body 2 ways. Directly and indirectly. Simple example. Let's take electromagnetic frequency. Electromagnetic frequency will indirectly affect the gut microbiome. But it is not the top 5. Because I cannot pinpoint and say that because of this you're having a problem yet. Because in a medical line, I need to prove it. I need to have evidence base. Okay, so until to that period, bacteria can be reproduced by test. Toxic metals can be done by way of blood tests, urine tests, or oligoscan. Okay. Generally, what I find is a lot of people or a lot of clients who come and see me have exhausted most of the income based on all the investigations, and they cannot pinpoint until they come to see me. By the time they see me, they would have seen 4 to 5 specialists, few admissions to medical centers, and they would have tried all type of therapies on numerous medications, and they don't become better. And they come and see me. All I do is an S-drive. Before even the S-drive, I can tell this is what's going on to them. So if you have a gut page, you have a gut support. So you can as well read this part of the page, which gives you most of the information. So page 1 will be the indicators. Page 2 will be the gut information. All this has been written by me. So it's simplified. So you don't have to be a doctor to learn this, or you don't need to be an expert to learn the expertise. Okay. So the others, indirectly, I've actually explained to you. Some of the others is like, if you can go down to other most important indicators would be something to do with fungus. Fungus, you will have sulfurylphane deficiency. Okay, certain amino acids deficiencies that's required in the chain. Okay, so what I want to do now is stop here. Stop here. And you ask me questions. You remember I train doctors. Ian Williams has seen me show pathways blindfolded. which I will post a video after the 10th. Okay. You can tell, even without the report, I can tell what's going on with you across the other side of the world, because the reports are so fantastic that it gives you information what the blood test doesn't do. Blood test is a two-dimensional. So some of the doctors who come and argue with me, why is the D3, vitamin D3 is not relating to the test? I said vitamin D3 represents, in the blood test, represent which part of the body? Is it plasma? Is it the bone? Is it the tissue? Is it the brain? This is a three-dimensional. And there's no dispute. Okay, so now I leave the questions to the floor before I go to the next chapter. Okay, I leave it to the crowd to ask me any questions. You have to unmute. You have to unmute, right? Hold on.
Yeah, hi. Oh, Dr. Radha. Hi, I'm Tessa.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah, I guess, are you saying then, like, what sort of success rates have you had then with, you know, you going through with the patient, they've done the test and, you know, they've followed the protocol as recommended in the report. What success rates have you had?
Success. Can you rephrase that and quantify your question, please? Yours is a very broad question.
Well, you know, like in terms of success rates, are you saying, you know, every patient who's followed the protocol as recommended in your report, have they, you know, how high is the success of in terms of the patient getting better?
Can I ask you back a question? Are you a doctor or not?
No, but I'm a student studying functional medicine at the moment.
Okay. I have been reversing diabetes based on the indicators here. In the world history, there are millions of written articles on diabetes, but I have never seen 100 cases of diabetes being reversed in the world. I'm doing the first time in this world with a team of doctors whom I've trained, something called RK5 system to reverse diabetes based on these indicators. Number two, in Malaysia, we have around 3.6 million diabetics. That's 10% of Malaysian population. In India, we have around 100 million diabetics. That's almost 10% registered. Those unregistered could be more. There's another 100 million hypertensives. So I have developed nutraceutical supplements that is not available in Australia or New Zealand or Malaysia or any part of the world. Agreed. Again, I am claiming in front of you that I have developed nutraceutical supplements based on thousands of tests from here. This is a human data, not from mice or monkey. It's human data. Based on this, we are reversing chronic diseases from heart failure to diabetes, but I don't want it to go into cancer. So if you ask me an open question like that, it's going to be tough. You have to be very, very specific. With me, you got to be very specific. Is it autoimmune? Is it is it epilepsy case? Is it autism? Is it a rheumatoid arthritis? So yours is a very broad question. So I'm very, very targeted in what I do. Currently, I have already trained around 15 doctors who can reverse any diabetes, any part of the world. No one can claim that. So I'm going to develop 100,000 data and submit it to United Nations within the next 5 years based on these reports. Simple. Have I answered your question?
Yes, you have. Sorry for the, you know, the not very specific question, but I understand.
It's okay. It's so nice to see, like, for example, today I have a WhatsApp group of approximately 190 over doctors I train from WhatsApp group. And you can see other doctors are reversing heart failure using my supplements, using a protocol. There are 5 steps to reversing diabetes. There are 5 steps to reversing hypertension. 5 steps to reverse heart blocks, cardiac block. You don't have to go for operation. All these I've learned from you and I seeing the same thing. Okay, so I see 3-dimensional. Okay, we have overcome rheumatoid arthritis. We have overcome skin problems, which is too easy. Okay, any other questions, please?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it not, you say if they have a bacteria, then you give antibiotics and prebiotics and probiotics. Is it not the priority to use an anti-infective before they focus on the nutrition? Because if they're focusing on nutrition, surely they're not absorbing the nutrients and things from the food, and the especially if it's a chronic bacterial, is it not?
Okay, that's a very good question. Actually, it's a fantastic question. There are 2 ways of doing replacement in the gut. First, you go to the nutritional back page, page number 29 and 30. First step is that you correct the nutritional status in the intestines. They give you certain food like berberine, coconut oil. So you follow that. And if person is still symptomatic, that's when you have to go and interfere with the antibiotic. Okay. For example, when you go and kill bacteria, bacteria is involved in production of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter in the brain, or it is involved in melatonin production in these things. It is also involved, 20% of the thyroxine is involved in the gut formation, conversion from T3 to T4. So you destroy everything. But what I find is that this person has got 10, 20 years of problem. Trying to do a nutritional way is going to take time. Okay, I'm up against a lot of external elements. Sometimes they want it to be fast, sometimes they're willing to wait.
ऐसे 2-3 दिन निकल गया है, इतना सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स ही मैं दिखा दूं इतने तो.
So the first step is to go back to page number 29 and 30. They will tell you what nutrition to take. And if it still doesn't become better, that's when you go and give antibiotic. I believe none of you all are doctors, so you're not allowed to give antibiotics. I believe so, because it depends on various countries. Okay, there's a misuse of antibiotics. When somebody goes and passes urine, you're excreting antibiotics. So much of pollution out there. What makes me think that by giving nutrition alone, it'll get corrected? Where is the evidence to show, if I walk into your place, let's say you're a naturopath, I walk into your place, can you demonstrate to me that I have bacterial overgrowth? This is the question I ask doctors. If I walk into your clinic, doctor, can you tell me I have a liver problem? Yes or no? There is no two-way about it. I don't run my mouth. I'll hang people by their tongue. Because I train diabetic endocrinologists, cardiologists, you name it, based on this. So my question to you is, how do you know in the first step that you're having a bacterial overgrowth? That's the same answer I get from all the doctors. They cannot say. They need to do investigative methods. This report, non-invasive, it gives you on the spot. Within 15 minutes, it tells you you've got bacterial overgrowth. So we have established a fact. Step 1, we established a fact. Step 2, what to do with it. So it can be a nutritional way or a medical way. Because I'm a doctor, I'm not going to go through the nutritional way. I straight away correct them with antibiotics. Week 2, then I go and teach the patient what prebiotic food to take, probiotic food to take, and postbiotic food to take. How many of you all know what is postbiotic food? 1. Kimchi is postbiotic. All the fermented food is postbiotic.
Fermented foods, yeah.
Okay. So can you ask me any more questions?
Yes, I have questions. Actually, I have sort of quite specific 3 questions.
Okay.
For in terms sorry, number 4, you talk about the glutamine. Yeah, so for me, I had a breast cancer before, and also there's once because after the chemo, of course, got damaged, and I really want to take a supplement for glutamine, but I did the research on breast cancer and the linkage with what's called amino acid. Actually, there's a positive linkage. So I kind of, a little bit of worry. Would you please give me some advice?
There is a word called angiogenesis. That means growing of new blood vessels.
Yeah.
Cancer feeds on glutamine. So you're not supposed to take glutamine when you have cancer. One of the other thing is copper.
Yeah.
So in my supplements, we tell them, but if you're taking orally, it's okay. But if you're going intravenous, it's a no-no.
Okay.
Okay. So if you got cancer, glutamine is something that you need to avoid. Intravenous, if you're taking through food, is a different story. You're actually feeding the cancer cells to grow more.
That's exactly. So if client coming and they had a history of cancer before, even they don't have cancer or survivor, but we still should avoid to give advice of this, right?
Okay, so you need to have some professional who can help you understand this, because you got to understand this is a nutritional report.
Yeah.
And there's no way we can pinpoint and say this is a mistake. You have to vary, because this is where our intelligence comes in. Human intelligence comes in.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, neither you're right. Because if you take excessive of anything, including copper also will cause angiogenesis. Yeah. Do you know about cancer stem cells?
Yeah.
What is cancer stem cells?
Is the main engine for basically.
Not exactly. Let me rephrase you.
Okay.
You have the main tumor, main cancer.
Yeah.
There's a queen bee inside.
Yeah.
By the time they resect you, the queen bee has migrated. So 4 to 5 years later, you'll get cancer back. That cancer cell, that queen bee which has migrated, will have a different appearance. So what industries have done is to identify the cancer stem cell and go and target it.
Yeah.
Okay, and most likely you don't get cancer. So don't go into a medical area when you're not a doctor. Even me, I would not handle this. I would hand over to someone more qualified.
Definitely, but I'm talking about myself, because when I'm taking supplement, it's.
So what I suggest is you avoid glutamine.
Okay.
Any copper related. Some say it is zinc. I'm not very convinced about zinc. So I don't qualify to talk on cancer.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much.
You have a second question.
Yes, another question there's a few people question about health analysis credibility for reporter. So one possible, so almost there to challenge me said that I tested today, but tomorrow I eat a different food, I'm tested again. So therefore reporter will be different. But what do you see the difference, how often they will change? But I think in terms like a chemical, bacteria, I wouldn't think it will change hourly, but in terms of other nutrition possible, right? So how can we really help people?
Okay, this is a technological question that you asked me. If you check your blood pressure on your left arm, you check on your right arm, there are two different things. So something called in vitro and in vitro. The food, what is going on in your body, keep constantly changing. Mm-hmm. So the person who challenges is a doctor or not a doctor.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Under what authority is the person saying that it doesn't work? Who are you? Mm-hmm. First question. Mm. So to answer this, when I face patients, I tell them this report is for 90 days. It's not about accuracy. All these reports here, there are 100 indicators is not shown in blood tests.
Okay. Yeah.
So why come and bring a blood test thinking pattern into a nutritional report? Mm. You follow? At least, I tell you what, frankly, even if it shows 50% accuracy, I'm excited because it showed me something that blood test missed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't get dragged away by the client.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think, yeah, normally people would appreciate
So
it.
it's not about the technical issue. I said it showed something that could be probably causing you the problem. All
I
the
think
blood
that,
tests do not show.
yeah, what they argue is basically you know, in report that says, because there's indication you eat this, but the next day we eat different things. So that's confused them more. But I haven't tried that yet.
I'll ask Ian to help you understand this.
Hi,
Hi.
I came down from the office when I heard this question.
Well, thank you.
Are you aware that NASA actually use hair testing in outer space of the astronauts?
Yes.
So we have this third dimensional route, and because we gather actually 800 biomarkers, it gives us a broad spectrum of information. When you go for in vivo and in vitro testing, the results are always going to be different because we're using different parameters to give us some results.
Mm.
And because we're looking at 800 biomarkers, which you can't get in a single blood test or a tissue test, we have to say that this is genuine for the next 90 days. But one of the biomarkers in epigenetics, don't forget we're looking at epigenetics, is emotions. And everybody said, how do you do that? Well, it took us a long time, and no, I'm not prepared to reveal how we do it. But this is how good the report is. Let's say somebody needs calcium on the first report. Yep. And then you ask them to concentrate on the bone marrow, concentrate on a bone, concentrate on the bone. And are you thinking of the bone? Can you taste the marrow? Yes. Concentrate on that bone, close their eyes, pluck the hair, do the test. Everything's changed and they don't need calcium. But they can't walk, can't walk around all day long thinking of calcium to generate the calcium information in the stomach. So when you go for your second test, the period of time, the change, has already occurred in your body, but it will come back at some stage and quite often. So it is wise, one test, the first test is very accurate. The second test won't be because you've changed, or you're thinking of the pain, or you're thinking of something else, or you're thinking of the bone, and it will have changed. So epigenetics also shows emotions, and emotions can be in the gut as well. Gut stress causes brain stress. There is a huge link between them both. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Good. I'll go back to my office and leave the more intelligent man next to me.
Okay.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate your time. Last question.
Yeah, before that, I want to add to what he has expressed.
Yeah.
Everyone here. Okay, I go through 5 steps of treating someone. Step 1, your theory must be right. If your theory is right, it should show by some form of investigation, whether blood investigation or any other form, urine test or S-drive test. If step 1, step 2 is right, step 3, the management will be right. If step 3, the management is right, can you put your mind? Then the outcome is right. If the outcome is right, then it should be reproducible. That means someone else can copy my steps and reproduce. Number 2, what I do in a report is that when I ask them to repeat a test maybe 4 to 6 months later, I'll be very, very specific of what to look for. I may write there, please look for bacteria or 2 toxic metals only, nothing else. I don't waste my time about the vitamin C and other few things. So today I had a call from one of the doctors. A 15 years old girl referred to this doctor to do S-drive. This 15 years old girl is legally blind. Okay, and the father is a doctor. So the child was born normal with normal sight and gradually lost the sight. Now it's a fight to the finish. So I was given a report and asked me to interpret. The value of the report is more than a 15 years old girl who has gone through 15 years of her life instead of getting through all these arguments. We found certain things in the report that could probably lead her to blindness. And is diagnosed as retinosa pigmentosa. Nothing can be done. So now we have a group of doctors pondering what we should do. Is the blood test and this comparison important? No. So when a person asks you that question, that person is dragging you technically to a field which is unnecessary. Because we are so used to blood tests. Okay, tell them, ask them NASA does what test? Hair test or blood test? They won't know. Ask them what's the constitution of the toothpaste they're using. They won't know. Why suddenly become a scientist here? I got a lot of people ask me that question. Okay, when patients come and see me, I said, what is your reason of seeing me? So here, there are approximately 40 of you are taking on me. So imagine hundreds of doctors and in 64 countries are taking on me for what I produce. Okay, so don't get dragged on by someone who's not intelligent. Okay, you're doing a great favor to someone. You're giving someone a second life. Someone you're giving a fighting chance. Okay, so what's your third question, please?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. I guess there will be always like these people. So we allow them to ask a question, I guess, because there are so many stuff out there are not credible. So I think I understand where they come from. That's why I like to know a little bit detail so that I know how to tell people in good way. So last question is, with you give what's called a food suggestion to take. However, there's no, can you give me a little bit of guidance for how much to take, for example? So the dosage is quite important. For example, onion. How many onions? 10? Like some people can't eat onion, for example. Of course, they can go to other things. So is there any sort of guidelines of dosage? Because
okay, so what I would do is to answer this question, we'll go to the second half, which is actually the details of what is produced here.
Yeah.
That gives you a guideline, because in food, the amount absorbed is so little. So it's very difficult to quantitate.
Yeah.
Here's just a rough guideline. It's not absolute.
Okay.
Okay. See, for example, a person, a Chinese eating, let's say, gluten, it comes up, and suddenly you tell them, please avoid gluten. Come on. All the noodles are made from gluten and this, they will die of withdrawal. Okay, so there should be, culturally, we have to be very careful about what we see. So I was online with Mexico, and somebody said, it comes with rice cannot eat. How can you tell an Asian rice cannot eat? So it took me almost like 3 years to figure out. Then I understood that the rice has got both copper and zinc. Okay, rice has got both copper and zinc. So the ratio is 1 to 10. So when you take a lot of polished rice, you have a deficiency of this. So it'll tell you, but in gluten form, it's only 5%. So I tell the people, please, you can still eat. So it requires a three-dimensional view rather than a technical looking at it in that way.
Wonderful, thank you. So when you're going, any possible later on we can be trained and certified by the company? I mean, I love
okay, you write back, after this, you write back to the company and say that you require very specific training.
Yeah.
Real life, that means you present the test, you do a test and present it to me, I will translate. So each person were to do one test per person, there'll be 40 hour tests, I will translate in 20 seconds per report. That's the amount of time I take. You can put a timer on me. And you don't send me the report, you just have to tell me.
Okay.
20 seconds.
Wonderful. So we love to learn this. But
okay,
anyway, so let you go. Thank you.
Anybody else want to ask me a question?
Hi, Dr. Radha. Sorry, my camera is not working. I'm very new to cell well-being, so this may come as a very ignorant question. But for me, if a customer comes and takes the test, and there is a gluten deficiency which appears on the report, but how do we know that person does not have a cancer? Say someone who looks okay, and they are not aware that they have cancer, or they may have. But how do we, what are the other questions, or what are the other indicators that make us be a bit more careful not to get these people on glutamine supplements on?
Okay, you asked me a very tough question. In the first place, you should not treat this test as a diagnostic test. Okay, consider it as nutritional. If that question comes, ask them to go and do a blood test. That solves your problem.
Okay.
Because I have picked up from this report. That is at my level. Don't take yourself into that controversy. Okay, like I can catch pancreatic cancer. Okay, I can catch ovarian cancer. Okay, I can pick up 3 to 4 cancers from here. But that is for doctors at postgraduate level. At your level, tell them if you really want. Okay, can I ask you a simple question the other way around? Can I ask you?
Yes.
Very simple, very simple. Let's work out with you. It's a blood test. Can you see cancer, yes or no?
Yes, you can.
How?
HPCY.
Total white differential count, normal blood test. Can you see cancer, yes or no?
Yes, HP, what was the...
Okay, you're not a doctor.
The cancer marker?
No, I'm just talking about regular blood tests that you go for medical examination. They're doing a medical blood test.
Oh, no, it has to be a specific one.
Good. If I were to show you a normal urine test, would you see cancer, yes or no?
No.
Okay, I do an X-ray. Can you see cancer or not?
Yeah, you may.
No, you don't. Unless we suspect.
If you see a...
Okay.
Oh, yes, suspect.
Same
Yes.
way, when you show a S-drive test, don't detect cancer. Okay, very simple. Keep yourself away from the controversy. Okay, again, the person who asked you the question may be having some family member or somebody is suspect have cancer. They want to detect cancer through this, and they'll drag you down. Okay, I make supplements for cancer too, but I'm not here to talk on that. I'm just talking about the gut page. Anybody else wants to ask this question?
Thank you for that.
Yes. Anybody else?
Yes, please. A simple one, I hope. I dealt with a person in their report. Their antioxidants showed zinc levels low, but in their minerals, zinc didn't appear as a problem. It didn't, it was normal reading. How would you explain that?
What is the normal reading?
Well, I mean that in the minerals pie chart, zinc didn't show up as a priority or anything, but it was in the antioxidant.
Fast forward that question to the second section for you to understand. Okay? I'll show you the secrets that I've learned that I can tell you what toxic metals in the report without blood test. Are you okay?
Yes.
So I call that RK2. RK2, I train doctors into RK2. RK2 is Radha Krishna, my name, 2 indicators to tell what toxic metals you have without blood tests. It took me 5 years to decode. Okay, but I don't want to confuse you. Okay, any other questions? We are 1 hour up on the gut page. Okay, anybody want to smoke? You got a 2 minutes break and I will start exactly in 120 seconds. So I'm back here. This is the chapter which is where most of the problems come from here. Okay. So let me explain to you the first sector called toxic metals. You see toxic metals here, but these chemicals, but it shows toxic metals, this section. Okay. If it comes, let me put you into understanding that the 5 most common toxic metals. Five common toxic metals. Number 1 is mercury. Is my handwriting okay? They said doctor's handwriting are bad. Okay. Mercury. So where does mercury comes from? When you see mercury, the worst of the worst toxic metals in the world is mercury. Okay. When you see someone has mercury, check on the amalgam teeth, check on the fish they eat, whether they're eating from pollution causes mercury. Okay, the worst of the worst is this. So you can go back and read the environmental sources of mercury. Okay, sometimes they will not have mercury in the teeth, but somewhere in the food or some exposure to pollution would have caused it. Okay, this is the worst of the worst. Number 2 is cadmium. Cadmium comes from smokers. Okay, cadmium can be from a primary smoker or a secondary smoker or a third-hand smoker. Okay, so what's a third-hand smoker? Someone must have left some ashes around and somebody accidentally touched it. So follow me very carefully. When you smoke, the tip can go to very, very high temperatures and it melts all the metals. And then you inhale. It goes into your lungs. From the lungs, it goes to the bloodstream. From the bloodstream, it goes into the liver. From the liver, it goes into the kidney and comes out in the urine. So what happens on a long exposure in the kidney, it has got 2 million filters. And it's called nephron. Okay, follow. 2 million nephrons. So let me take one of the filter. One filter will appear this way. This is the blood vessels and filters out. And this is the where the urine comes out. So there are 2 million of these. What cadmium will do, it will kill the cells here. So most likely they may end up with renal failure on a long run. So like that, cadmium can also come from food, but mostly from secondhand smoke, your pollution that you are inhaling. Sometimes when you see a family driving in a car, the father is smoking away with all the windows closed. Years later, the child develops all kinds of problems. That is the second. So number 1, is mercury. Number 2 is cadmium. Number 3 is lead. So lead comes from pipes, car exhaust, and many. Please Google and find out environmental sources of lead. This is the third common toxic metals. The fourth toxic metal is arsenic. Arsenic again comes from water and many other sources. The last one is aluminium. Aluminium comes from cooking utensils, your baking powder. Can you go back and Google aluminium, which is very common. So imagine that this is a frying pan and aluminium based and with very high temperature, and you're scraping it. And then the mother is feeding their family little at a time, and they develop toxicity. Okay, so aluminium, there's something in aluminium that I want to tell you about. Okay, there are two problems with toxic metals. One, it is accumulation. Bioaccumulation means it will collect into your body over a long period of time before it shows symptoms. So it didn't appear overnight. Second, it is not biodegradable. Degradable. It doesn't break down. Okay, these are the two problems with toxic metals, but the biggest problem with toxic metal is something called half-life. What is a half-life? Let's say I had breakfast. By lunch hour, 4 to 6 hours later, I'm already hungry. So approximately half the time is called half-life. So the lead's half-life is 24 years. It's not going to come out so soon. Some of them half-life will be 20 years. Okay? And that's the reason we fell sick. So when generally a person comes to see me, they said, how fast can you remove these toxic metals? I said, it has been there for maybe 10, 20 years. We can't remove it in a month. It will take 3 months to 2 years to remove them. It's not that simple. Okay, you followed? Okay, I'll show you some extensive things that it might help you. Let's say someone has a heart problem. Okay, are you all following me? Thumbs up, please. Okay, lead goes and deposits in bone, and displaces calcium. Calcium goes into the heart blood vessels and deposits here. So 30, 40 years later, when you have chest pain, when you go down to the hospital, they will do a scan and they find that your blood vessel is narrowed. So they will ask you to do a stent or a bypass. Actually, the damage has occurred long, long ago. So in my field, what we do is we remove the calcium deposits and the lead. In a process, we reverse a cardiac condition, and that person doesn't require to have a bypass operation. Correct? So these are the things that I teach doctors. Okay, second, how do these toxic metals present? On S drive. Because what happens is it causes inflammation. Inflammation, you'll see it as omega-3 deficiency. You will see these as antioxidant deficiencies. You see a lot of antioxidant deficiencies. You see these as glutamine deficiencies. You can see bacterial overgrowth because the immunity has come down. So the secret here is, what I do is to find out what you call the root cause of their condition. So in the whole S drive, I'm not looking at that vitamin C, vitamin E. I'm just looking for one that would change the cause of the disease. Are you following? I'm not worried about all the small details. I said, if I change this, would it change the cause of disease? Yes or no? So when I was in India when I was training, then there's a cardiologist who sat ahead of me. We did a test for him. He refused to see his test. All he asked me was a simple question. He said, doctor, whatever deficiency you're talking about, if we change the deficiency, would it change the cause of disease? He wants to know the answer, yes or no. Guess what happened to me? I got fried on the stage. I could not answer the question. So I came back. For months it disturbed me. So I have come back to teach doctors, doctor, in this whole report, what are the 1 or 2 root causes? If you change, it will change the cause of the disease. Simple. So that eliminates all these rest of the things. Simple? Are you all okay? Good. So the root cause, and most of the time, most of the problems are because of toxic metals. Okay, second, this is exactly what I showed to the patient and frightened the hell out of them. You want to know the secret? How many of you want to know the secret? 1, 2, only so few.
Yes, please.
Yes. Good. This is the secret I showed to the patient. I tell them, step 1, all your toxic metals or chemicals is coming from environment. Okay? Now it has gone into your body. From the body, it has gone into your cells. Okay? From the cells, it has gone into your brain, into your organs, into your tissues, into your blood, into your bones. These 4 pictures is enough to frighten anyone. So what I tell them is very simple. I can help you remove these. These they have to take care. So in your report, if you go to page number 28, you click the where this is coming from. That will be the first step of avoidance, step 1. This is step 2 of your management. No use of clearing these as long as you keep putting back inside. No use of clearing this and the patient still continues smoking. Okay. So I tell them now it has gone in every part of your body. To remove them, it will take between 3 months to 2 years. So I have developed various methods of doing this. For you, because you're not a doctor, so most likely you can give chlorella, alpha-lipoic acid, glutamine, glutathione, Zulite. Those are the things. I have developed a supplement that actually crosses into the brain and remove toxic metals. Okay, not available in Australia or New Zealand. Okay, and it's so simplified, so they don't have to struggle. Again, it's not available anywhere in your countries. So you need to show this diagram, and that's when they wake up. All their questions will disappear. They said, how do you know? Then you can ask them to do a blood test or urine test for toxic metals. It stops the argument. Y'all okay? This is a little secret that you need to pick up. Okay.
Excuse me, doctor. Excuse me, doctor.
Yes.
Can toxic metals be detected through a blood test?
Yes. And it's going to
Okay.
cost them a lot. You can test via urine test. You can test via oligoscan. S-Drive is not designed to pick up toxic metals alone. It is designed to pick up 100 indicators. So a blood test is specifically for toxic metals you can do, or specifically urine test for toxic metals. S-Drive is designed to study the whole body.
Thank you.
Okay, good. So let's go to some things that help you. A question somebody asked me about zinc. Okay, let me give you one small secret called RK2. My name is Radha Krishna 2. Radha Krishna 2. That means RK2. You find zinc. This was the question somebody asked me. Okay, you asked me zinc. What is the function of zinc? Zinc has 5 functions. 1, it is for hair. It requires for immunity. Requires for intestines. Requires for thyroid. And it also indirectly means it has got cadmium toxicity. So if you ask me an open question like that, zinc you find in antioxidants, but you can't find it in the minerals, it's about bioavailability. I hope I answered this. So if you want to know whether the person got toxic metals or not, you need to find 2 indicators. That means it should be in the mineral page or the antioxidant page. You should detect zinc. And in the environmental page, you should find toxic metals. So if you go to toxic metals page and you find toxic metals and then you find zinc deficiency in either the antioxidant page or the mineral page, it means the person has got cadmium toxicity. If the patient wants to prove, ask them to pay $200 or $500 to get the blood test done. Got it? So I showed you a shortcut. Okay, so you can look at a test. It could be any one of the 5, but to be very specific, you should show toxic metals, and it should show in the mineral page or the antioxidant page. And it also means that the person is having insulin resistance. So I can decode 5 toxic metals using S-Drive without doing a blood test. And it took me 5 years, thousands of reports, hundreds of research articles, because zinc and cadmium have the same pathway. That means it goes on the same road. And toxic metal cadmium overtakes the zinc. So it's the same pathway. So there's biochemistry involved, okay? So what is the next one? Okay, if you want to know very specific, it can be the next class. But for the moment, I'm just going through each sector, okay? Because others never ask me a question, so I can't give away the secret. Okay, so I think Michelle has asked me the question, and I'm giving away a secret how to read a test without blood tests, you know. So you don't wait for blood tests. People have to spend a lot of money. By the time you want to give management treatment, they have lost a lot of money. They don't have enough money to treat. Okay. Next is chemicals. Okay, we have approximately half an hour. So let me finish chemicals. So if you look at chemicals, we live in a world of chemicals. So when you see chemicals, you please print out, and page number 28 at top there, where toxic metal we cleaned out, tells you where are you exposed to chemicals, number one. How to read this? How to read this? It's simple. Okay, chemicals, if you look, is written there, chemicals and hydrocarbons. So where can chemicals come from? You go back and see at page number 28, the download, it will be written from so many things. It can be from perfume, your non-stick pans, from the shampoo you're using, from the hair dye you're using, from the nail polish that you're using. It's very difficult to pinpoint chemicals. Okay, it's very difficult. But what I tell patients is simple. I tell them, if I'm not worried, you don't worry. If I worry, you should worry. But if I'm not worried, but you are worried, you take over my place. It stops the argument because they like to look at all the details. Second, after I complete the interpretation, I tell them very simple. Do not take professional advice from unqualified individuals, including doctors. If they're that good, show me they've developed something in the world. Like what I'm facing now in front of 40 of you. Okay, so it's not that simple like what you're seeing here. Okay, so what is hydrocarbons? Hydrocarbons comes from aromatic substances like glue sniffing. So if you are in a westernized nation, you got to watch your children. When you do a test, they may be sniffing glue. Okay, or some form of drug, can be a petroleum product. Okay, we had one child who was 12 years old, 13 years old, became a zombie. He was on rice tube feeding. He was seen in 3 hospitals in Malaysia, and then ultimately they think it was depression. So the psychiatrist gave me a call. So we did an S drive. We found chemicals, and then we found omega-3 deficiency. And then we suspected this was glue sniffing. And because there was a dispute, so they gave me a few days to overcome. So I've given my supplements. Guess what happened? Within few hours, the child woke up from deep slumber and asked for McDonald's. It was a race against time because they want to do ECT for the brain. Okay, and that psychiatrist believed in me. So in that form, we have made patients walk. A patient who's quadriplegic walked away because we removed toxic metals from the brain and chemicals from the brain. So we have numerous reports from my supplements that I've done. So this page is so powerful that you didn't realize the significance of it. Do not get dragged away by the person who's asking questions. Okay, you stick to your grounds. You're more intelligent than anyone else. Your intelligence is unparalleled. Okay, so it can be from other things like allopathic. You go back and read, please, from petroleum products, these products, perfumes, the whole list is there. Please read back, chemicals. But what I want to tell you is because you're a westernized nation, if you see chemicals, go to the food section and look for gluten. Inevitably, you find corn, wheat, barley, rye, and I can't remember one more. They all are from GMO. Okay, there is no specific test for GMO for the moment, simple test. It's all complicated tests. But with S-Drive, it took me almost 4 years to tell this is GMO food. They said they have been taking organic food. Really? Don't believe the labels. Okay, so from chemicals, we go down to radiation. Are you still with me or are you tired? I train doctors 8 to 12 hours a day.
All good.
Okay, so the next indicator is radiation. Okay, what is radiation? Radiation got two sources. It can have direct effect or indirect effect. Direct effect come from X-rays, the medical procedures, okay, like Chernobyl or nuclear, okay. Indirect effect comes from environment. So if you look at a chart, almost 37% comes from medical procedures. Another 38+% comes from environment. So it can come from fish, it can come from fertilizer, it can come from so many sources. But let me shock you out. Are you ready? Your house may be sitting on a radiation and you didn't know. Radiation comes from uranium. Let's say I drink a glass of water. The end product of me drinking a glass of water is urine, the breakdown product. The uranium last breakdown product or decay product is lead. And it will take 4.46 billion years. So in between products are like radon, thoron, and the rest. Okay? So these materials, uranium may be underneath your house. It can be in the woodwork. Okay? Let's say somebody, especially a person who eats a lot of fish, they can be exposed to radiation without them knowing. What I found, a lot of patients, I don't want to give you a certain community, they always have radiation and thyroid changes. Subclinically hypothyroid, and they're chronically ill, but they're not sure what all the blood test is normal, and we find radiation. So what does lead leads to? Lead leads to blood, it deposits in the bone and displaces calcium, and calcium deposits in the heart. So one fine day when you're 40 or 50 years old and you go with chest pain to the hospital and they scan you and they find that you have a heart block. What they didn't test you is for radiation. What they didn't test you is for calcium deposits. All this is because of lead deposit, because of radiation. So you do medical forensics, you go after what is the root cause, what is the root cause, and you eliminate, you can reverse diseases. Are you okay? And we also found all these problems are associated with one of the painful medical condition called autoimmunity. All you have to do, because you're not a doctor, just eliminate these few things. The patient becomes better. Please understand that you're giving life to someone. You're giving a quality life to someone where they could not detect. By blood test, it's all normal. They will tell you straight, doctor, I've seen so many blood tests, so many spent thousands, CT scan, MRI, I've done all investigation, all normal. But I say the S-drive will show you a lot of things that they missed. So we don't compare medical side and this side. We said, what is it that they didn't do? We will add on. These are the tests they didn't do. So we do these tests to tell them, this is probably the cause. We don't have a conflict in interest. If your language is straight comparison to blood tests, then you're going to go nowhere. Let's see what they didn't do. That should be your language. Okay, you make a friend with the person. You're giving someone a life. You're not fighting someone. If your language is such that you're fighting, then this is the question to ask you: what is the comparison? What is the accuracy? Why the blood test is different? This is different. These questions will come back. Okay, you tell them, okay, hospital has done this. Let's see what they didn't do. This is a test they didn't do. So let's see from the test. Oh, this has come up. Let's investigate further. Why is the radiation there? Where are you exposed from? You got toxic metals. Look, where are you exposed from toxic metal? If they want to know more details, ask them to go and do a toxic metals test. Correct? So it gives you a basis to understand. We don't go into medical. We just focus on the nutrition to clear out. Are you all okay with me so far? Good? Okay, so what's the time now? Okay, so I'm a little bit ahead of time. I want to give away one more secret for you. 40 of y'all still online with me. None of y'all disappeared. I want to give one indicator away because I think the worst of the worst problems in the world is toxic metals, and the worst of the worst toxic metal is mercury. Okay, so this I am taking a permission from Ian because I think you're a very special group of people, and I think it's you're past your dinner time. Okay. And I think I want to add value before we go into question time. Okay, so going back to RK2, if in your mineral page or your antioxidant page shows selenium deficiency, this is one. The second indicator, it must show in your toxic metal page. Toxic metals, presence of toxic metals. Don't take one indicator, must have two of them. Must have two. Then this is mercury toxicity. So you have a report that is so fantastic that you actually don't need to go and proof by blood test. If that person wants to argue, ask them to spend another $500 to do a blood test and urine test. He has got too much money, ask them to donate it to you. Got it? Some people run their mouth as though the world doesn't end, as though they have too much of money. Okay, but please understand this technique is because you are giving life to someone. And I find thousands of people having mercury toxicity. And a lot of people are having unnecessary health issues based on this. They develop diabetes, they develop hypertension, they develop autoimmunity, liver problems, kidney problems, skin problems. Okay, so before I stop here, the last thing I want to explain to you how much are you willing to give me? How much are you willing to pay me to give you away this secret? Skin is equals to gut. Treat the gut. Through the gut page, you cure skin diseases. Done. No argument. Again, gut page, is equals to skin problems. All you have to do is focus on this, the S-drive test, and you cure allergies, you cure asthma, you overcome psoriasis. gut page equals to skin diseases. Are you all okay? So I stop here. We have around 15 to 20 minutes of question time. And you can ask me any question.
So Radha, one question that seems to still pop up quite regularly is people in relation to the top 10 foods to avoid. Some clients obviously may eat a few of the foods and then some of them they don't. So the question is, why do the foods appear in the report if they're not something that they consume or remember consuming?
It's a very good question. I also have this question. I also have tough time answering this question because...
If I may, I'll answer it because it's a technical question. And so as I've lived with this for teens of years, I can tell you the back office 61 IT engineers in Germany. So epigenetics is part of the genome. So number one, if the parents or the grandparents had, let's say, they were allergic to salmon, it comes down, it's passed down through your DNA, down to your genome, and you have not an allergy, but you have a resonance that says you don't like salmon. So many of the questions that we get is, why do you list something that I don't like? And then the question back is, have you ever eaten it? And the answer is no, more often as not. No, I've never eaten it. And no, I don't like it. And no, I don't want it. Why is it there? Because it came down from your genome, from your parents and your great-grandparents and your grandparents. And that's why it's shown. But one or two of the items, maybe 3 or 4, you actually eat a lot of. And they do. They eat a lot of them, one way or another. And my advice to you all is, you want to make somebody feel better and be secure that they have actually paid you good money for an intelligent report and intelligent advice. Number one, my advice is always take Dr. Radha's advice, but number one thing they do, for the first 48 hours, don't eat the food that's listed. One of them is your favorite food. It might be coffee, it might be beans, it might be whatever it is, and they're eating a lot of it. Don't eat it. Phone your client after 48 hours and check that they haven't, and they will actually feel better, because that food is stressing them and is causing compromise for all the other good nutrition that they're taking and all the other good things they're doing in their life. That one is the one that's causing them the most pain. And as Dr. Radha so sensibly said, it takes time for nutrition, good food, to break down in your gut and to see a reaction. If you take something away, such as an irritable food, not an allergy, an irritable food, within 48 hours, they feel that much better. And they're prepared to then follow the 90-day course and follow the advice that you give and Dr. Radha is training you on the gut, which is 80% of what's going on in their body. I hope that answers you.
Thank you. So now I'll add on to the answer, okay? Because I face doctors and they're very competitive. They don't take these kind of answers. So my question to at the doctor's level, I'll ask them, which medical college teaches you to do blood tests for epigenetics? That stops all questions. If they say, oh, my medical college, I said, actually, I want to go to a medical college and check whether they do blood tests for epigenetics. There is no such thing as blood test for epigenetics. None. If he says yes, some will hide their stupidity, some will announce it loudly. But the very question I know that the person doesn't know. So that means he has announced it loudly. And I'll kill them. Okay, and for epigenetics, for example, you had our grandparents have a gluten intolerance. It's passed on through the genes to our parents and to us. So it's a signal picked up. It's not necessarily the food that you're eating. It's a signal that picked up in your epigenetics, that you're intolerant of it. It is not equals to a blood test. So I'm talking from a doctor's level point of view. This is what exactly I tell doctor, which college you come from, which medical college taught you to do blood tests for epigenetics. It stops. Because I have no time to argue with doctors. Okay, I have to put them to where they stay. Right? Any other questions you want to ask me?
Hi, Dr. Radha.
Yes.
I just have a question about the toxic metal. If someone exposed with the toxic metal or even chemical, and do you normally do the same treatment for people, like, I mean, from like a teenager until elderly, even though they have, for example, like it's quite weak for the elderly, and we know that from the test and the result, it shows toxic metal. Can we do the same procedure?
Can I ask you back a question to understand what exactly your frame of mind? Is it okay with you? Okay. Toxic metals is very different from chemicals. Chemicals, the molecular levels are very low and it may be very transient. So I don't worry. Question I always ask everyone, whether you're a doctor or a non-doctor, are you symptomatic or not symptomatic? Because the problem with a lot of doctors and everybody else, they'll respond immediately to the test. Let's say you're all okay for 30, 40 years and then you bring your cholesterol test to a doctor. So what does the doctor tell you? Oh, you're going to die because of this. But you are okay all the while. So why do you respond? So the first question you got to ask them is whether you're symptomatic or not symptomatic. If you're not symptomatic, then we can go slow. If you're symptomatic, it is causing you a medical problem, life-threatening, then I will go. Again, age-wise is very important. That I've been treating patients more than 97 years old to as young as 1 month old. It's never the same. The dosage is different, the methodology is different, because the baby's metabolism hasn't caught up, the liver enzymes are different. So we are very careful. All these will be based on discussion with me. And I discuss with doctors how to go about. For example, we want to give probiotics. Do you really want to give probiotics for such a small child? What about vitamin A? What about these? So we look, there are two kinds of doctors. The first kind of doctors will look at every detail and they go after everything. The second type of doctor is they pick up what is the most important things that will change the rest of it and they'll take on. I'm the second type. I will look at 1 or 2 indicators and go after it, not change the whole thing. So I hope I qualified the answer that you are looking for. For an old person, 50, 60 years above, most likely they would have leaky gut. Their body functions at 50%. So they respond differently. Younger person, not a problem. So we need to be very careful with the age group. Are you okay? Have I answered you?
Yes.
Any other questions, please?
Dr. Radha, I had a man come in for a test and he came up with exceptionally high levels of radiation, but he'd never had an X-ray in his life. And because I live in the Waikato region, I asked him a question. I said, have you recently visited the Waitomo caves? He said, yes, last weekend. And I asked him, how long were you underground? And he said, 3 hours. And then it appeared it must have been radon gas that he was subjected to, which was causing the high radiation levels. And then he said to me, but then my whole family must have high levels. And I said, I can't tell unless they do the test, but it's possible, yes. So
what's your question, please?
So the question I just wanted to ask was, is this a common thing in other parts of the world, or is this just exclusive to New Zealand, where radon gas would be a problem for the radiation?
Okay, this is not an exact answer. Radiation catches a lot of us by surprise, including doctors. But as doctors, we always think you got into an X-ray or something like that. When they said that they didn't have any X-ray, Next question is we are lost for answers until I explain it is coming from environment. Question is whether a 24-hour exposure to or 3 hours exposure, will the test come positive? I cannot say. Because what I found is different people respond differently because of genetic makeup. I have seen a person smoking for 30 years, 2 packets a day, and the test came, no chemicals, no toxic metals. Okay, before that, I ran my mouth and said, you'll have these, you'll have these, and nothing showed up. So, and I was in Taiwan, and you have 30 doctors sitting there with a nutritionist. Then I came back and found out that some of them are genetically modified, got like P450 cytochrome. Their detox mechanism is very good. So some people can be drinking 1 bottle of wine every day. No effect because they have a better gene. So to answer that question is all based on, again, back to the genetic makeup. Some people can have all toxic metals, have no ill effect. Some people can have radiation. So don't get dragged into a presence of something and equate it to something. It's very difficult to tell until we do a test to say. Maybe what I'm very scared. Okay, I'll tell you why I'm very scared to answer this question. This is a test done across nations. Okay, it is a data you're picking up from New Zealand or Australia, and you're exposing it now. Okay, you've got to be very careful because if we were to build a data on it, you're challenging the country's scientists. See, for example, in India, we were doing a lot of tests, and certain parts of the country, we had a lot of radiation. So the person discussing is from India. And if you were to reveal certain things like that in atomic research, PABA research in India, they will come after me. So you need to prove a fact. So rather you don't get into all these kind of detailed discussions. Just leave it as such. If it's symptomatic, you treat the symptoms. Don't go into very nitty-gritty of this. I'm very, very worried about certain things of medical legality or in terms of legal issues, in terms of, I can go into detail into a molecular level. You would not believe. I just demonstrated that to Dr. A. I just demonstrated on a whiteboard that I can go blindfolded and still write into the molecular level. What does it prove? It proves nothing. It's just from a memory.
I can tell you just worldwide, part of your question, worldwide, I would say 10% of the reports show it. Most recent one of very famous, won't mention any names, very famous people in Scandinavia. The test revealed that they had radiation. They didn't believe. They're in Scandinavia, for goodness sake. And so there was an argument, and thank heavens, the S-Drive operator had spoken to Dr. Radha, stood his ground. They went away and did a radiation treatment at the house, and they discovered radiation at the home, under the home. The home was condemned. That was about a year ago, and they've been very ill, and they've subsequently lost 14 kilos of weight, and have subsequently been on TV raving about how the S-Drive reports saved their life. So you have to be aware that radiation is a problem, and equally is a problem in America. I don't know if you know that until recently, some China visitors, China visitors, beg your pardon, some manufacturers of China ware were using uranium in the paint, and they were completely unaware that the paint had uranium in it. So it's there and it abounds. So we have to be careful, pick it up, and you have to be careful when you're dealing with it.
Another one actually. Okay.
Dr. Radha, I'll hand back to you. Any more questions, anyone?
Okay, do you have any more questions to ask me? Any more questions? None. So can I demonstrate something for you? What is the power of the S drive, right? So I'm going to draw certain things that you actually don't need to understand, right?
Dr. Radha, just before you do that, there's one more question that was there that I think you might have missed.
Yes. What is the question, please?
I'm just curious as to know your go-to, your primary go-to, apart from your nutritional, your supplement for heavy metal detox.
Can you repeat?
What is your preferred primary go-to for heavy metal detox?
Okay. The simplest way to do is 1, probiotics. 2, take N-acetylcysteine. Okay, 600 milligrams daily for 6 days a week for a minimum of 3 months. This is the simplest method that we can do. If you're in stores, you can do that, or you can also add third one, it will be alpha lipoic acid. This is the simplest method to detox your toxic metals. Apart from chlorella, zoolite, coffee enema, and many others. What suits you, you give them. Any other questions, please?
No, thank you.
None. I'm waiting. We have approximately 3 minutes.
Have you got a quick one to what's your protocol for someone suffering from eczema? You know, I know you mentioned that anything relating to the skin goes back to the gut. So what would you normally, how would you normally treat your patients?
Okay, I have developed supplements for that. But for you as a basic person, all you have to do is to look for bacterial infection, parasite infection, and fungus infection. You get over that first. Step 1, look at your report, get over bacterial infection, if it's there, parasites, and fungus. Okay, step 2. Once you have done that, you give prebiotics, probiotics, and alpha lipoic acid, and NAC or N-acetylcysteine. Done. And you must give a minimum of 3 months. First week to 2 weeks, please clear out this. You look at the S-Drive report, it could be any one of them. Plus, step 4, step 3, gluten for a period of 3 months. 3 months.
Would that be avoiding gluten for 3 months?
Well, for 3 months. Then you can suggest to do an S-Drive after 4 months, because I cannot conclusively say gluten is the main cause. It's a combined causes.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So before we go off, yeah.
Dr. Radha, where can we read about the supplements that you have invented and have a look at it?
It's a tough question. I think it's a yes and a no. I have in my pocket, which will be going into the global market in the future. So currently it's not available anywhere in Australia or New Zealand, or only in Malaysia through compounding pharmacy. There are 25 different ingredients. Okay, and this has overcome a lot of diseases. But I just showed you the 3 steps what to do. That's good enough. Mine is a Ferrari model, which will be available in the future, right? And any other questions? Unless you have someone very, very sick, life-threatening illness, then you message through Cell-Wellbeing and I will help you overcome. Whether it is a heart problem or a diabetic, that's on humanitarian. Otherwise, you have to wait 2021.
Will that help Alzheimer's as well?
Alzheimer's has got several things that you need to do. Who has Alzheimer's?
Oh no, one of my friend's fathers has Alzheimer's, so that's why I was interested to know a bit more.
Alzheimer's.
Sorry?
Who is managing the Alzheimer's?
Sorry, one of my friend's fathers has. I didn't get your answer.
The neurologist managing the Alzheimer's.
Dr. Radha is asking who is managing the Alzheimer's, because if it's a friend of a friend, there's 40 people here who might be interested or not. But Dr. Radha, I know, has helped a lot of people, including me. I'm 77 and I still have a brain, which is odd, especially for an English guy. So I would suggest if you send a question in, we'll best answer it. And if it's someone managing the Alzheimer patient, then really Dr. Radha shouldn't be talking to you. He should be talking to the manager of the Alzheimer patient. Okay,
sounds good.
Dr.
Thank
Radha,
you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Dr. Radha, I know you want to end up with a very special little bit for 2 minutes. We're overrunning. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry it's so late at your night. Thank you for spending your time with us. And we much appreciate you at Cell-Wellbeing because my desire was just to touch the hearts of 10 billion people before I decided to leave this planet, and you're well on the way to helping me. So I much appreciate it. Thank you very much. Dr. Radha, I'll leave you with the last few words. God bless you all. Stay well.
Do you encounter a lot of diabetic patients?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run 1 minute diagram for you. When a patient comes with numbness, pain, non-healing ulcer, don't copy this. Step 1. Glucose 6-phosphate to fructose 6-phosphate, ulcers to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to 2,3-diphosphoglycerate. This is polyol pathway. This is hexakinase pathway. This goes to PKC pathway. This one goes to AGES pathway. Okay, and this appears in an S tribe as disturbing lipids, proteins, and nucleic acid. So the best way, that means when a person is having enough medication and still showing symptoms like this, it means it's in this pathway. Your blood sugars may be normal. To help to overcome diabetes, please just follow this alpha lipoic acid. You check the dosage in 600 milligrams daily for minimum 3 months. You help some client out there. I learned this from the S-Tribe. And we have developed supplements based on this kind of stuff. So this is pure biochemistry. And I decode a lot of cases based on biochemistry. I'm just showing you a demonstration of what I can do blindfolded. You can wake me up at 3 a.m. I can still draw that. Right? So I want to thank you, every one of you, for staying up. Okay, it's a wonderful device. Thank you so much. Bye.